Today, we're gonna talk about some other whiskey categories that you should probably try if you're a bourbon only drinker. Let's go. Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Carlos. Thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Corner. My chair is really crickety, so sorry if you hear that throughout the video. I just noticed now as I hit record. So thank you everyone for supporting the channel. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for liking, subscribing, everything that you guys do. Now, if you have not yet done so, the only thing I ask is for you to subscribe. That is it. Pretty easy, right? Just hit that little subscribe button and that will help out the channel tremendously. Now, if you are feeling generous, you could also like, comment, click that bell icon, and we have a Patreon. So you can, submit a few dollars there. Now, what we're gonna talk about today, we're gonna get straight into it because it might be a long video, is a few other categories of whiskeys that you as a bourbon only drinker should probably, investigate a little, explore, and see if maybe one of these other whiskey categories or whiskeys will be to your liking. So let's get started. As I said, it might be a long video, so let's go. So the first category that I would say is probably the easiest category to get into from going to an only bourbon drinker, and that is, well, I would say probably there's two, a lot of these are easy, but this is the one that I'm gonna start off with, and that is rye whiskeys. So what I'm holding here is a Willet Green Top. It's a 4-year Willet rye whiskey. It's probably one of my favorite rye whiskeys. I have a few favorites actually. This one, a Knob Creek cast strength. I have a lot of High West that I like. So I'm not a rye person per se, but I do have my favorites with these ryes, right? And it took me a little while to start getting into the ryes. And quite honestly, I've picked up on what flavors I like and I do not like. For example, Alberta Premium Cast Strength. Not really liking it, but that's a more rye forward rye, if that makes sense. This is great, and this is cast strength. It's a little hard to find, but you still do find it, at least in my area. It's like $70. But another one that's kind of hard to find, but is not that rye forward, is Sazerac Rye. So if you're just starting out and you don't know if rye is really for you, then I would go with something like this that is not too rye forward. It's barely a rye, but it still gives you a little bit of those rye notes. So definitely rye whiskey is probably the first one that you want to start with. Also, I have an empty bottle, but Lost Monarch, Redwood Empire Lost Monarch is a blend of ryes and whiskeys. So it has bourbon, rye, other whiskeys in it. So this is a good introduction into what to expect with rye. So definitely that would be my first category. Now, my second category is another one that a lot of bourbon drinkers either go to or they come from, because, for example, I started out with this category. If you don't know, I was big into scotches and blended whiskeys like Johnny Walker, Dewar's, things like that. I love Glenlivet's. That used to be my forte, but that's what I grew up with. Everybody in my family basically loved, they were like Johnny Walker fiends. So that's what I grew up with until I started tasting a little bit more of the bourbon, and that's kind of what I went with instead of that scotch or that blended whiskey. But if you're coming from the bourbon world and you want to try some other things that are out there, some different tastes, definitely look into Scotch, because it does offer a lot of different tastes for you, especially for example, this Glenlivet 14. This is a cognac cask selection. So it's finished in cognac cask. So you get that little bit of that Scotch, but then you get the cognac as well. So it's definitely a different taste. And then still with Scotch, you got other types of Scotch. So peated Scotch. So this is Peat Monster. Now it's not particularly my favorite, but it does give you definitely a different taste for you to try out. You never know. You might end up saying that you love peat. Who knows? I like Laphroaig, I like Lagavulin, I like Ardbeg. Peat Monster is, I can live without it, let's say, but either way, they're all peaty, smoky scotches that, quite honestly, you might end up liking. So definitely give it a try. Number 3 category, and probably an easy one to get into as well. I have seen that, I guess, the entry-level bottles are not that expensive to get into this. And I have 2 entry-level bottles from the same distillery here, and that is Irish whiskey. Now I do have a Redbreast over there, which is a little bit more, and I have tasted Green Spot, which is also a Riders Irish whiskey, but here I have Jameson. So, I mean, I remember back in college, Jameson this, Jameson that. You would always check out the Jamesons, and usually it'd be mixed or with something else. But Jameson is a good introduction into Irish whiskey. Here I have the stout edition. I like it personally, but there's a lot of people that don't because it's finished in craft beer barrels. I like craft beer. It's more like stout beer barrels. But then you have the black barrel. It's triple distilled Irish whiskey. And quite honestly, I love the taste of it. I just got this, so I haven't gotten too much into it, but what I have tasted is pretty good. So that's another area of whiskeys that you guys can go into as well. Number 4 category is, well, hello, American whiskey. Yes. Now, American whiskey is a weird category because anything that doesn't really substitute as bourbon, they throw it into the American whiskey category. So there you could have your Tennessee whiskeys like Dickel. You can have your Jack Daniels and stuff like that. You can have other things that just don't constitute as bourbon. Here I have Uncle Nearest, right? So they don't really go with the rules that are indicated. Well, some of them do. They just decide not to call themselves bourbon, but they don't really go with the rules that it constitutes to actually become a bourbon. I have a light whiskey over there, Optamian. So they're not really bourbon because of the rules of how you have to actually distill it, how long, what's the process, and so on and so on. But it's still labeled as American whiskey. But it's probably as close as any of these to be able to go from bourbon to this, right? So definitely go and get some American whiskey and try it out. I already showed you some of them. I quite honestly would constitute Dickel and Jack Daniels a bourbon per se, but I get it. Not following the rules, or they either don't want to be called bourbon and they're in that American whiskey category. But check out Uncle Nearest if you haven't checked it out yet. It's actually a pretty good one. So we're getting down to my last 3 categories. Well, 4, because I have an honorable mention. My next category, and I forgot what number I am in. I should have really written these down, but my next category is, well, Texas whiskeys. So here, I probably show this one off in all of my Texas whiskeys videos. I love this. This is Iron Root Harbinger, And Texas whiskeys is bourbon, Texas bourbon or straight bourbon whiskeys, but with a little bit of a change, I would say, only because they're done in Texas. So with the Texas heat, they have a different aging process. Some of the ones, usually a bourbon that's like 2 years old from Kentucky, you probably wouldn't pay attention, it's probably not good. But you can't say the same for a 2-year-old Texas whiskey, because that's actually probably pretty good. And a lot of them are 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and it's still a great whiskey. So definitely check out your Texas whiskeys. Like I said, Iron Root Harbinger, you got your Balcones, you got your Garrison Brothers, you have some other ones, Still Austin, and some other ones that are out there right now, but go check them out because it's definitely worth a try. And then you'll get that different flavor than you would in a regular bourbon. Now, second to last category, I would say, along with Texas, it's kind of bourbon, kind of not, then I would say is your flavored, and more particularly your wine flavored or wine finished bourbons. Here I have two. I have two of my particular favorites. One is Chattanooga Port Cask whiskey. It's actually really good. So if you haven't had this is a bourbon whiskey finished in tawny port cask, and it is amazing. It is a tawny port cask. And then I also have, where is it? I knew I had it here somewhere. No? Okay, I lost it. There we go. My Doc Swinson's Alter Ego. So this one is finished in sherry and cognac cask. So I actually like sherry finish bourbon whiskeys. So definitely give this category of bourbon or whiskeys a try, because you might end up liking it. I know there's some people that don't like sherry. I know there's some people that don't like Armagnac, cognac, although those aren't wines. But port wines, Cabernet Sauvignon, there's a bunch of different bourbon or whiskeys that do it out there that will actually give you that cask finished in wine flavor. Try it out, see if you like it. I mean, I love my Chattanooga tawny port one with some steak. It actually makes me feel like I'm drinking a port wine with a bourbon kick, you know? Lastly, my last category. And I left this for last because I haven't really explored this category too much. This is actually my first purchase of this type of category, and that is Japanese whiskey. And I'm gonna start off, this isn't expensive. This is probably like a $30 bottle, Suntory Whiskey Toki. So I decided to try it out because I actually do want to try out some of the Japanese whiskeys. I saw that one. I hear, oh, it's a good beginner or entry level, and I'm gonna make a video of that once I actually open it, because as you see, I haven't popped it yet. But once I actually go to try it and open it, I definitely want to try that. But in the same category, I'm also going to put the Indian whiskeys. I know Starfold, or I think I'm saying it right, Starwind, something like that, is an Australian whiskey. So more of those Pacific whiskeys, Pacific Coast whiskeys, you should probably give them a try, because I hear good things about them. I hear that they're actually pretty good, and a lot of people do like them, especially the Japanese whiskey. So those are my top picks. Wow, we actually did it pretty quicker than I thought. But those are my top picks on some other types of whiskeys that you, as a bourbon drinker, should actually go out and try. Now, I left this for the end of the video because, you know, it is what it is, and you guys will probably find it controversial, and I will probably get some comments at the end. But I am drinking something, and none of these, I'm actually drinking a bourbon that I am trying to get rid of, and I don't really want to dump it down the drain. So I will struggled through drinking down this bottle because I really want it out of my bar. I can't keep looking at it. So cheers. I mean, it's not that bad, but I just don't like it. This bottle is Larceny. This is the regular small batch 92. I just get so much medicinal cherry that I don't like it. And it's a weeded bourbon, sorry. And I just can't stand it. I really can't. And I have a store pick from Primo Liquors over there. I have a barrel proof, and I actually like those. But the regular small batch, yeah, not so much. So I probably have it, halfway, maybe a little bit less than halfway, but you will probably see me in the next few videos drinking that because I just want to get rid of it and get it out of my freaking bar. There's a few whiskeys that I'm gonna do that with, and I'll make a video of that. Yeah, you guys will see a video of some whiskeys that I truly regret buying. Although that didn't cost that much money, I do regret buying it and I don't like it, so we will be drinking it down. But let me know what you guys think about these categories. Let me know what you guys would add into this, what you guys would take off, what you like and what you don't like. Comment below. Please do me the favor again of subscribing. That's all I ask. But if you're feeling generous, like I already said, comment, click that bell icon, and check out the Patreon. Well, till next time, guys, this is already a long video. Enjoy that whiskey. Cheers.